Hello everyone, this is Aaron from Hybrid. In this episode I'm going to give you my review, impressions, takeaways from Cobra Kai Season 5. And it was fantastic. It was just fantastic. A great season. Probably the best season since the second season, if not the best season of the series. The third one was alright. The fourth one, Netflix tried to inject their agended crap, which, seeing what has happened to Netflix since then, served as a warning. Like, when you deal with shitlords like Netflix, you're going to get covered in it. And I know it sucks that a show this good is on Netflix. And I can't condone watching it by any other means, but yeah. Now, watching this season got me thinking about a particular term. And that term is anti-woke. Like, what does that word even mean? Because we know quote-unquote woke means the denial of reality. You know, the 98-pound woman tossing around 250-pound dudes with ease. Or a black woman being cast as a white historical figure. You know, the complete denial of reality. So, anti-woke is just the acceptance of reality? I've come to the conclusion it's a meaningless term. I mean, anti-woke just means proper storytelling. And that's what Cobra Kai Season 5 is. It's proper storytelling. And there is so much to like in this season. It's hard to pick a starting point. And I'm not going to get into all of it because I don't want to give away some of the crazy stuff that goes on. And I'm just going to bypass the whole Mexico sequences in the first two episodes because I'm not going to step on that landmine. And if you don't know what that landmine is, then good. I won't burden you with it. So there's going to be minor spoilers ahead. I'm going to try not to get too detailed. Okay, so where to begin? Oh, you got to start with Chozen. I mean, what can I say? Chozen. He made every scene that he was in so much better. He was charming, endearing, his on-screen presence. I mean, every time I wanted more Chozen, the show gave me more Chozen. And I think they knew just what they had with this character and they maximized it to great effect. Like, the only gripe I have with it, and it's a minor one, but is in the 9th episode when he was on the phone to Okinawa. He wasn't speaking Japanese, and I think it would have had more impact if he was. And we were reading what he was saying, you know, like a letter, given the context of what he was saying. But this was Chozen's season to shine, and he did just that. And dare I say that maybe we kind of need a rom-com spin-off of Chozen and Okinawa, just saying. Get back to the show. And to my incredible surprise, you know, in this show, in this season, they let boys be boys. It's almost like a huge middle finger to certain corners of social media, you know, the kind that use the term toxic masculinity. Which is a bullshit term, by the way. Toxic masculinity is an empty phrase signifying nothing, much like the heads of the people that use it unironically, just empty. Because early in this season, Johnny has had it with Miguel and Power Ranger Robbie's crap. And he's like, okay, you guys don't want to work it out, then fight it out. And they do. The kids have it out at Johnny's apartment. You know, toxic masculinity. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that shit works. And usually, the guy you're fighting ends up becoming a friend for life. Once again, I'm speaking from experience here. And watching this and seeing how well it works out, as Miguel and Robbie put their differences aside and become amicable, I was stunned. Am I really seeing this depicted on screen? In this era, in this stifling intersectional environment, not once, but multiple times during the season? Unfiltered toxic masculinity. Why, yes, I was. And it was so refreshing to see reality for a change. Yes, this is a real thing that happens. Yes, it's perfectly natural. It's how guys connect sometimes. And if you have a problem with that, then I guess this show wasn't made for you. Because there's also a scene where they pan over the natural female form because a high school boy thinks that girl in the bikini's hot. And that used to be okay. Well, maybe it will be again. I mean, imagine being a show about a karate dojo rivalry that is also trying to normalize actual reality. But that's where we're at this point. As I've stated before, it's a great show. I recommend it highly. But I'm just picking out a few scenes right here that stick out in my mind that doesn't give away too much of the plot, just as an indication of what we're watching. So there was a scene in episode 8 where Johnny had to pick a representative to try out for this World Warrior tournament. Miyagi-Do totally did the Hadouken motion, by the way, which was, you know, awesome. But it was between Hawk, Miguel, and Power Ranger Robbie. And the way these guys arrived at their decision, in my opinion, this was the scene of the season. If you watch no other episode, watch episode 8 just for this scene. It speaks to the sorry state of entertainment that this was so refreshing to see. I mean, these guys, they used reason. They used merit. There was no ego involved. Even though all three of them were champions, there was no boasting. There was no posturing. The way they discussed it and arrived at their decision, it was proper storytelling, man. Another great example of this storytelling is in episode 3, the breakup scene. You know, it's funny how they always want to be your friend after they rip your guts out. But in this scene, like, you don't have to be, you know, Ecuadorian or Italian or see yourself in this skin color to relate. Because when Miguel is walking away, breaking, we all know what he's feeling, regardless of our backgrounds, because we've all been there. Episode 9, another great scene in there. when Chozen is talking about a woman in Okinawa and how, because of what he did during the second movie, he's unforgivable. Like, we all recognize that. He's rejecting himself before she can reject or accept him. And who among us hasn't done that at one point or another? You know, this Japanese man that grew up in a culture a world away, and we're relating to him, not on a racial or regional or religious level, but on a human level. You know, proper storytelling. And it kind of sucks that I'm noticing it, that it's so conspicuous because it's been so rare to see recently. You know, but Cobra Kai, it's Johnny's show.
Okay, you know this is some kata competition, right? Hi. Is that yes?
And there's a fair amount of vintage Johnny, and he grows this season in character, and he gets his second chance to be the person he thought he should have been had he won the All Valley tournament in the first movie. And it was like the scene in Scott Pilgrim, you know, Johnny has achieved the power of self-actualization, and he becomes a more powerful fighter. And then there's Terry Silver. Yo, man, dude, he continues to be this great corpo bad guy with his scheming and his resources. And in this season, he brings in a dragon lady and her henchmen, and he just goes full Kohagen. You know, if he controlled the air supply for the valley, he would have shut that thing off in a heartbeat just to get at Miyagi-Do. And speaking of henchmen, Kenny, the little kid Kenny, he is so good as a henchman. He is so hateable. And at this season, it just goes way past, we need to convince him Terry's evil and he'll be on our side again. Nah, he needs to get his punk ass whooped proper. I mean, knocked the fuck out. This little Miles Morales looking motherfucker. And you don't give people shit swirlies, you little punk. That was fucking gross. But all in all, this season, in the most part, moved away from the kid stories to focus more on, you know, the adults. They still have a role to play. It's just not as front and center as it's been in the past seasons. You know, there's training stuff. You know, Sam has her thing. Tori has hers. I was disappointed what they did with Devon. You know, she seems like her personality would have been more drawn to the Dragon Lady instead of, you know, how they did it. And just as a side note, they took another swipe at D&D players, making the schlub Stingray a dungeon master, and an awful dungeon master at that. You know, one that delights in killing his players. Murder hobo DM. I mean, 8d12 of psychic damage with no save. Are you kidding me? But after 4 decades of being vilified, you kind of can't hurt us, so, you know, swipe away. It was kind of amusing, you know, I noticed. But Daniel goes to talk to Stingray about what happened last season. You know, and Stingray's PS4 ends up being broken. So Daniel comes back and he replaces it with a new one, which I interpreted as even in this completely fictional world, you still can't find a PS5.